Some threats can be stopped with bullets, some can be contained behind steel doors. But what do you do when the very walls meant to imprison a nightmare become its hunting ground? What do you do when time, decay, and rot take a physical, humanoid form? This is SCP-106, commonly known as the Old Man, classified as a Keter-level entity. It represents one of the most unpredictable and dangerous anomalies currently held by the Foundation. At first glance, it appears to be an elderly human male, suffering from advanced, severe decomposition. Its flesh is necrotic, dark, and constantly weeping a foul, black, highly corrosive mucus. This substance is not merely biological waste, it is a fundamental disruption of physical matter. Any solid material SCP-106 touches begins to immediately break down, rust, and dissolve. It takes only seconds for it to melt through solid steel, concrete, or human bone. But its corrosive touch is not its most terrifying attribute. SCP-106 is not bound by physical barriers. It can pass through solid matter entirely. It does this by sinking into surfaces, leaving behind a large patch of its signature black rot. Once inside a solid object, it vanishes from our physical reality. It enters what Foundation researchers refer to as the pocket dimension. The pocket dimension is a spatial anomaly entirely controlled by SCP-106. Within this realm, the laws of physics, time, and space bend to its will. When it hunts, it does not chase its prey. It waits. It ambushes victims by emerging from the walls, the ceiling, or the floor right beneath their feet. It incapacitates its target by attacking major organs or severing tendons, ensuring they cannot run. It does not kill them immediately. It prefers them alive. It then drags its paralyzed, terrified victim into the pocket dimension. Once inside, the victim is entirely at the entity's mercy. Surviving victims, though extremely rare, describe the dimension as an endless labyrinth of rusted halls and putrid trenches. They report hearing the screams of previous victims echoing through the dark. Time inside the pocket dimension does not flow normally. Days of torture inside may equate to only minutes in our world. Let's analyze the physical composition of the corrosive anomaly. Chemical tests reveal the sludge contains no known earthly compounds. It does not burn like acid. It literally destabilizes molecular bonds. The effect is terrifyingly rapid and completely irreversible. Furthermore, the entity seems to secrete this fluid constantly. It never runs dry. It never stops rotting. Some researchers theorize that SCP-106 is not a creature at all, but rather a localized spatial anomaly wearing the corpse of a human, a sentient black hole of decay that mimics humanity to hunt it. There was an incident decades ago, Incident 01. Reports from the trenches of World War I describe a soldier who fell into the mud and never died. Corporal Lawrence, a man who supposedly encountered something deep beneath the battlefield. When he emerged, his skin was black, his mind was gone, and everything he touched turned to rust and ash. Is Corporal Lawrence the Old Man? Is he the origin of the nightmare? The Foundation does not know, or if they do, the records are heavily redacted. Regardless of its origin, its purpose is clear. It exists to consume, to pull the living into the endless dark, to trap them in a maze of suffering where death is a luxury denied. Every time a containment breach occurs, The facility holds its breath, waiting to hear the screams, waiting to see who will be taken, and praying that the femur breaker is loud enough to bring the nightmare home. Containing a creature that can walk through solid walls presents an impossible challenge. Standard security measures are useless. Concrete dissolves, steel melts, titanium rots. However, the Foundation discovered that SCP-106 has an aversion to complex structural geometry and bright light. Its primary containment cell is suspended within a larger room, held entirely by electromagnetic supports. The cell must be lined with layers of lead, suspended in a liquid medium, and surrounded by chaotic, random architectural patterns. These measures do not stop the entity, they merely confuse and slow it down. But despite the best efforts of human engineering, SCP-106 inevitably breaches containment. It gets hungry, it gets bored, and it leaves its cell to hunt. When a breach occurs, the Foundation must initiate the most morally reprehensible procedure in their database. Recall Protocol 11-Ezra, commonly known among site personnel as the femur breaker. SCP-106 is a predator. It is drawn to the sounds of human pain and distress. When it breaches, a living human subject, specifically a Class D personnel, is placed inside the primary containment cell. They are strapped into a specialized hydraulic device. The room is sealed. A live audio feed is broadcasted throughout the entire facility. And then, the machine is activated. The hydraulic press engages, applying thousands of pounds of pressure to the subject's femur bone. The femur is the strongest bone in the human body. Breaking it causes a level of agony that is biologically impossible to suppress. The subject's screams are broadcast over the facility's public address system, and somewhere in the dark, SCP-106 hears the music of agony. It stops hunting the staff. It turns around, and it sinks back into the walls, lured to the cell by the promise of fresh, suffering prey. The Foundation sacrifices one to save the rest. It is a terrible math. Let me read you the logs from Incident 020-4. At exactly 1400 hours, pressure sensors in Sector 4 failed. Corrosive damage was detected on the primary containment sphere. Site 19 went into immediate lockdown.
All personnel, SCP-106 has breached containment. I repeat, the old man is out.
Initiate lockdown procedures. Mobile Task Force, Epsilon 11. 9-tailed fox is en route.
The task force deployed to Sector 4, armed with high-powered illumination and concussive weapons. Standard firearms are useless, but explosive force can temporarily disorient the entity.
Commander, we have visual on the corrosion trail. It is moving towards the D-Class barracks.
Copy that. Maintain spacing. Keep your strobes active. Do not step in the sludge.
The squad moved cautiously through the darkened halls. The air smelled of sulfur, rust, and rotting meat.
Sir, I am getting seismic readings. It is not in the halls. It is in the walls.
Before the commander could issue a retreat order, the wall beside Operative Miller turned black. Two rotting, skeletal hands burst from the concrete, grabbing Miller by the tactical vest.
Fire! Fire! It has got me!
The squad opened fire, but the bullets simply passed through the entity's viscous, decaying form. Miller was pulled screaming into the solid concrete. The wall swallowed him whole. Only his dropped rifle and a pool of black, smoking sludge remained.
Fall back. All units fall back. We cannot engage.
Control, we lost Miller. He's gone. We need to initiate Protocol 11, Ezra, immediately.
Understood. Preparing the subject. May God forgive us.
Deep within the facility, a terrified D-Class was violently dragged from his cell.
No, please. Whatever you are going to do, just shoot me. Just kill me.
They dragged him into the primary containment chamber, strapping his right leg into the hydraulic press. The chamber doors sealed shut with a heavy, metallic slam. The microphone clicked on. The facility fell dead silent.
Protocol 11 Ezra. Initiating in 3, 2, 1.
The sound of the hydraulic engine roaring to life echoed through the speakers. Then, the sickening crunch of a human femur snapping under immense pressure. A scream of pure, unfiltered agony tore through the public address system of Site-19. Every researcher, every guard, every anomaly in the facility heard it. And deep within the ventilation shafts, SCP-106 paused. It tilted its decaying head. It tasted the suffering in the air. The entity turned away from the terrified MTF squad. It had been stalking. It melted back into the steel floor, drawn to the chamber like a moth to a flame. Within 2 minutes, it materialized inside its containment cell. The screaming D-Class looked up, tears streaming down his face, as the old man rose from the sludge. The audio feed was abruptly cut. Containment was re-established. The crisis was averted. But at what cost? How long can humanity justify these methods? The Ethics Committee has debated the use of the femur breaker for decades. Some argue that the D-Class personnel are condemned criminals anyway. But others know the truth. The pocket dimension is a fate worse than any execution. Victims taken by the old man do not die, not for a very, very long time. He keeps them alive to feed on their fear, their pain, their absolute despair. There have been rescue attempts, expeditions into the pocket dimension, operatives tethered to steel cables, sent in to retrieve the lost. But the geometry of that place defies all logic. Up is down, time is fractured. One operative was pulled back after what seemed like an hour. His vital signs showed he had been subjected to months of starvation and torture. He spoke of endless corridors lined with doors that opened into solid rock. He spoke of a throne made of rusted blades, where the old man sits and watches his collection rot. The Foundation strictly forbids any further manned expeditions into the Anomaly. We must accept the reality of our situation. We do not truly contain SCP-106. We merely provide it with a place to rest between hunts. And when it wakes, we pay the toll. This is the burden of the Foundation. We secure, we contain, we protect. Even if the cost of protection means sacrificing our own humanity. If you ever find yourself walking down a dark hallway alone, if you smell the sudden, metallic stench of rust and decay, do not run, do not scream, it will not help. The old man has already found you, and the walls cannot save you now. The sheer psychological toll of guarding Sector 4 cannot be overstated. Guards report phantom smells of rot, even when off duty. They hear the echoing thud of footsteps in empty corridors. Many request transfer, most are denied. To work near the old man is to accept a constant state of dread. The realization that any wall, any floor, could suddenly become a grave. You cannot fight what you cannot touch. You cannot hide from what can walk through your defenses. All you can do is run, and hope that someone else is slower. This is the reality of the SCP Foundation. We live in the light. so that you may die in the dark. Wait, no, we die in the dark, so you can live in the light. Subscribe to Anomalous Horizon for more classified records. Enable notifications to stay informed on the latest data extractions. Because, in the dark, knowledge is the only weapon you have. Archive Addendum. Document Recovery. To understand SCP-106, one must look back to the First World War. Historical records point to a Corporal Lawrence, a young soldier serving in the trenches of the Somme. Lawrence was reportedly a normal, albeit quiet man. But the war changes people. It breaks them. During a particularly brutal bombardment, Lawrence's squad was trapped in a collapsed trench. They were buried alive in the mud and the dark. When the rescue team finally dug them out days later, they found something horrific. The rest of the squad was dead, mutilated. But Lawrence was alive. He was sitting in the corner, staring blankly, covered in a strange, viscous black mud. The mud did not wash off. It seemed to seep from his very pores. In the field hospital, the anomalies began. The cots he slept on dissolved into rusted wire. The nurses who treated him developed severe necrotic lesions on their hands. Lawrence stopped speaking entirely. He only smiled. A wide, unnatural, terrifying smile. Eventually, he vanished from the hospital. He simply walked through the solid brick wall of the ward, leaving a hole of rotting masonry. Corporal Lawrence died in those trenches. What emerged was the old man, a being sustained by suffering, driven by an endless, sadistic hunger. Further exploration into the pocket dimension has yielded disturbing results. Foundation probes and D-Class personnel have transmitted limited footage from within. The space does not obey the laws of physics. Gravity shifts without warning. Hallways twist into infinite spirals of decaying concrete and rusted iron. The environment reflects a twisted amalgamation of human fears. Endless trenches, hospital wards, and decaying industrial basements. The old man controls this space absolutely. It is a god within its own rotting universe. Victims dragged into the pocket dimension are rarely killed immediately. They are kept alive for days, sometimes weeks. Hunted, toyed with. The entity seems to derive sustenance not from flesh, but from pure, concentrated terror. Those who are released or manage to escape are irreparably damaged. They are sent back as a message, a warning to the Foundation. Containment is merely a polite fiction. We do not hold SCP-106. It stays because it enjoys the game. And when it tires of the game, it breaches. This concludes the expanded archive